We have Dom's Silverado, which you guys saw last year. We did a C-notch and some suspension on. We're turbocharging that coming up here in a little bit.
Lambo, Aventador S, Vert, SUV, Rolls Royce with the curtain. Surprise, 30K to Birkin is a purse. Can I keep up like they driving in reverse? North side, you can get served. The North 3400 got 33 birds. Yeah, my got curves. Percocets, the coding got me slurred. Suicidal dough got me flying in the bird. 20 million on the verge. Got me getting squatting on the curb. Even the rock say the word. Pocket stuff like a stocking, you heard that. Watching for the plotting and the lurch. Gotta feed your family the first. Running on the money like turf. Stay out my lane, cut up my merch. Panamera 911 off-white verge. Looking for the drip, it's an unknown surge. Living in the video, ever seen the movie Purge? I done put up a whole M in the dirt. I put the time, the grind, the work. 95 left wrist, white t-shirt. Moonwalking on your good foot.
I just went and caught me a Diablo. I'm a dog outside of your DM, send a couple eyes. I ain't really sending no hearts though. Hit her from the back one time, then call. That's a hit and run. Call Geico. 6 carats hanging out my motherfucking earlobe, shining like the glove on Michael. Got a couple hits right though. But you better cost me a word. What? I don't play, but I'm not Cardi. That's a wet dream. Hit her best friend and she got hit her other friend, she was going though. Car is on 6, but it's foreign though. Treat my like Jordans though. Only get retro 10 when it's born though. Savage got an Enzo, Benzo. I don't got a whole lot of friends though, but I got a whole lot of M's though. She wasn't with me shooting in the gym. In the club, I stop, snatch my chain, get stumped by a whole lot of Tim though. I'm ducking in your like Tim, bro. I let her block him, she was Timbo.
Car too fast, go skirt. Cut the alarm off like brr. Drop top wop is a convert. 1D, pull up to the concert. Police chase, toe snake, let's make it. All said patient cause my heartbeat racing. So impatient cause I'm going big places. The showroom floor made the stove get baked. And my so bad made your house get naked. SV Enzo, hard top glacier. Pull up in the tray for the long range face. Deep dish, big lip, rim fantasia. And I keep a Benzo tuck. Yeah, cop 2 Maybach trucks. Yeah, I go in it. Well, I sit like a polar bear. Put goo up on all my wheels. Give me all you got to kill. I don't need no record deal. I lost the top like Copperfield. I need to watch that cost a meal. Look off the real. Pull up in the lamb, leave in the leer. So I said my whole career.
I need a Benzo. I need a Rari a Lambo. I need a Rari a Lambo. I need a Rari a Enzo. I need a Benzo. I need a Rari a Lambo. Shake West D, a Rari a Lambo. Shake West D, a Rari a Enzo. Enzo. I need a Benzo. I need a Rari a Lambo. I need a Rari a Enzo. I need a Benzo. Mercy a Lago.
I'm seeing I'd like to put an amend on. Perhaps a little more room here for the fixins. You know what I'm talking about?
Ooh, we're gonna have a lot of fixes?
We're gonna have so many fucking fixins up in this motherfucker.
underneath the back lip. So, gonna get the bead lock clamp down with all the bolts anti-seized, and air it up, and it'll seat properly. So I got my little pile of anti-seize, just putting on the tip of all the bolts. And what I do is I mark the 4 corners with anti-seize so I know where to start for my crisscross pattern. And I just thread them in, so the top, bottom, right, and I'm doing left. Just thread them by hand first, and then I'll torque them all to, last one I did 10 pounds, ultimately 20 pounds, but I'm just gonna torque them and then fill it up with air and then take them back off. Because I still got some referencing to do with the caliper measure, so just to make sure the clamp is actually going to be the right seal so that I don't need shims with this tire. So this is just to get the tire seated. So I got one tire mounted. Problem was the back side. Didn't want to seat on the lip, so I had to air it up with the bead lock clamp down. Got it seated. Now I got to soap up the bead that's going to go on first for this one. Same thing.
It is another week working in the shop, and we are kicking off yet another Turbo Silverado build because, I mean, I love turbos. What other reason do you need? So that's what we're doing today. We'll jump right in with a bit of a backstory on what exactly this truck is and what's it doing here at the shop. About a year ago, we had a silver/pewter step-side Silverado roll through the shop where we did a bunch of suspension work. We fixed a badly botched C-notch. We installed some atomic fab coilovers up front and just kind of got the truck going down the road. But I haven't heard from it since until today, which I talked to the customer. That's not exactly true, but the truck's been doing its thing and now it's back with us, but it looks totally different. Obviously, it's had a paint job since then. He went from the silver, pewter, whatever color to this black. He went from a step side actually to a fleet side bed because he didn't like the plastic bed sides that the step side have. Can't blame him there. And then he's done a bunch of work to the drivetrain to prepare it for boost. So I'll try to give a summary. The engine came out, it came apart. It has a BTR Stage 2 turbo cam in it now. It has Summit Pro LS rods and pistons. It has Johnson lifters. He said he had the heads milled. I think it has an MLS head gasket, ARP head studs. It's got a Trailblazer SS intake on it now with a 90mm throttle body. Basically, he's done everything to prepare this truck to make a whole lot more power. Oh, and not just the engine either. It's also got a Jake's 4L80 in it with a Circle D converter, and he went through the rear end, and it has True Track in it. And then, of course, we did the Cal Tracks on it last summer as well. So basically, here is the truck. It's ready to make some power. Obviously, we skipped ahead in time, but we will start at the beginning and show you what we've done so far. All right, Chris is just getting the hot side started. What do you think so far? I have never seen a Huron Speed kit in person, so what do you think so far?
It seems to fit pretty well. Got a little bit of massaging to do on some AC lines.
So it looks like where the wastegate comes out on that side. What about fender liner clearance? Is that gonna, you think that wastegate's gonna clear, or?
I think the fit's pretty well. Got a little bit of massaging to do on some AC lines. So it looks like where the wastegate's gonna come out on that side. What about fender liner clearance? Is that gonna, you think that wastegate's gonna clear, or?
You think that wastegate's gonna clear, or? Hard to say.
That's hard to say. That might be pretty close.
The thing I always look at though is like plug wires. They look like those are gonna do okay.
Good clearance there.
Yeah, so definitely gonna figure something out for this because it goes right in front of the gate. Maybe we could, at the very least, put it in the middle. I'm gonna check and see if Rowan has a replacement for this guy. I know Dom already put on the different receiver dryer, and I think this hose is different, but that might be close. And then yeah, heater hoses will have to either do that sort of a number and rearrange the bottom, which we're gonna have to do anyway because he's got that other tank, so the tank hose. So get rid of that, that'll go in there. All right. That's a neat piece. Who makes that one? True Focus Fab. Coming right along. So let's dive in and talk about the details on what exactly we are doing. Obviously, we're turbocharging it. We saw a little bit of the teardown already, and this is kind of where we're at as of Friday afternoon. Most of the teardown work is done for the exhaust. We've got the Huron Speed turbo kit, which we're installing. Customer supplied it. We've got the manifold there. We have I say we, but it's actually Chris. He does a lot of this work for me. We've got the driver's side manifold installed, yet to install the crossover. But what size turbo are we doing? Remember, it's a 4.8. It is a T6 S475, so pretty decent sized turbo. But remember, the customer has a goal of 700 to 800 horsepower, and that's a pretty decent sized turbo to make that happen. Maybe a ball bearing Garrett might spool a little bit quicker, but you know, it's going to work. I think we're not going to have any problems. 475 is pretty standard stuff nowadays for an LS. Downpipe is yet to go on. It's a two-piece downpipe design. I'm kind of anxious to see how that's actually going to fit. I've never installed a Huron Speed setup before, so we will find out together. But he also has, for the intercooler, I think he picked it up from, I believe, Rowan's Rides. We're going to be doing their intercooler and their radiator because this is the wider 34-inch style, which doesn't leave a lot of room for a side mount charge pipe. But we'll install the narrow radiator. We'll have room. We'll probably relocate the trans cooler just to make everything packaged nicely because this is where the intercooler needs to live. But that's sort of the gist of what it is that we're doing. Along the way, we are going to install one of these catch can deals, which I think I probably showed just a little bit ago. But we need to pull the valve covers and weld a -10 AN bung onto those. And we also need to pull the oil pan and install the weld-in AN bung to get oil from the turbo back into the engine. So we'll get that stuff knocked out. And then that's kind of the gist of what we're doing.
Where those middle seats are folded up.
Okay.
I think that'll be a good spot for it.
Sounds good.
I know you guys weren't really digging the stock wheels on Dom's Silverado, but he just dropped off and installed the new drag pack. I gotta say, I love it. This like totally transforms the truck. And of course, you know, once it's all together with the hood shut and the grill on, it is gonna look just killer. The color combo is awesome. I don't normally love black wheels, but the black with the milled accents and with the chrome bolts and the red of the caliper behind there, I think that is just about perfect. It kind of makes me want to get a set for my truck. And now, of course, you'll have plenty of traction too with the 305s out back. So we'll get back to the turbo build on Monday. We had a pretty busy week at the shop here, so you'll see more of this coming up. I mean, when Dom dropped off his Bogart drag pack for his Silverado, like every day I walk by those wheels and stare at them, I just can't help it. I'm really thinking I need to get a set for me. And because those are 18s, they will work with my big claw kit that I have right now, the 14-inch rotor. So that's really awesome, and like I said, I'm loving those wheels. So Dom's truck has a narrow band, and he also has a dual wide band set up, one of which we're gonna put right here. So we need to add another bung. And this is, I bought this a while ago. This is one of these fancy coped or like radiused ones from Stainless Bros. So as you can see, it makes for like a perfect gap all the way around. That's the part number if you want them. Time. Do you need me to be useful and actually help you? Or can I just hold this?
Got it.
Alright, that's a turbo. Yeah, depending on how we clock that too, because I think this compressor needs to be pointed down to come out. So let's play around with that a little bit.
This one, shorten this end up a bit.
Yeah, because that's almost right on the hot side too. And you can't turn that. All right, we just tried getting the lower section of the downpipe on. Right now it is hitting pretty heavy in between the pinch weld and the up pipe. So Chris is gonna take the up pipe off and see if we can actually slip the downpipe in, because right now it is a major no-go.
All the way clamped in, still gotta try and stuff the crossover back in.
But it looks like it at least kind of fits though.
Yeah, it looks like, I believe that would be the right angle.
Yeah, it looks like it's more or less pointed. I mean, we can work with that because we're building exhaust anyhow. But then what about the up pipe?
But it looks like they'll line up.
You said it'll touch but not line up?
It looks like they'll line up, but they'll touch.
Okay. So downpipe in first and then crossover. All right, we got most of the hot side installed. We have to do just a little bit of tweaking here. When the wastegate sits on, it won't quite line up. This is what we've got. And this is a really tight fit for everything, but that's where the wastegate wants to sit. And as you can see by that, I mean, you could maybe bend that flex coupling really hard and get it to fit, but that's not right. So we're gonna make it right. Alrighty, Monday is come and gone, and we've actually made pretty good progress on both projects. S10 is sitting on the ground, and we did discover a handful of issues with the turbo Silverado. Nothing too major, obviously nothing we can't fix, and it's just kind of one of those things that you learn to expect when it comes to installing aftermarket parts. It'd be nice if everything fit right out of the box. I'm not knocking anybody's product. This is, I've seen this across the board, but we're just gonna have to make a few tweaks to get this thing to fit just how we want it. First of all, on the lower part of the downpipe, oh, and worth mentioning, this is a 4-inch downpipe, which it does take quite a bit of work to get a 4-inch downpipe installed. One, we had to fold back the lower pinch weld. You can kind of see it right there, just because it would hit and there's no way to even get the downpipe in. Two, we're gonna have to do a little bit of a heat and beat on the downpipe, because right now it is touching the frame and it's also touching the manifold. So there is no way to like press or twist or clock this downpipe any further in to open up clearance there. So we just kind of have to do a little bit of heat and beat there. And then finally, this is the big one, the connection between the wastegate and the downpipe where it circulates. There was no way that this was gonna line up. Even with this flex coupling in here, you'd have to like crank it way down and crank it way out. And then that would just barely get the Vband to touch up top, but it would still have a gap down below here. And these flex pipes aren't really designed to compensate for poor fit up. They're really only designed to allow for thermal expansion. So Chris is reworking that short section of material there. When he gets the fit up how we want it, I'll weld it together for him, and then the downpipe can pretty much go in the truck for good. So, oh, that's really hot. So basically, Chris made it really short here and had to add length there, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
All right. So don't pick that up right now. All right, so I'll put the little clip up that shows how it fit up in the beginning, and this is how it fits now. Pretty much zero gap. We had to add about 1/2 of an inch here. We probably took off maybe 3/8 of an inch there. So everything is clamped up. It's all solid. I'm just gonna get a couple of welds around here, a couple of welds around here, then we'll take the whole upper down pipe out of the truck and finish weld it. All right, Tuesday midday update. We're making good progress again on both projects. Chris has the downpipe now rewrapped and reinstalled, and everything fits perfectly. I'm really happy with it. We had to do a little bit of heating up here just to clear the frame. We talked about all that already, but now the hot side is pretty much permanently installed. You got the crossover in too, right? Yes. All right. So other than that, you did have to widen out the slip fit coupler. Will the springs fit? Okay, the springs won't fit. Maybe we'll try to find a longer one or something. But anyway, hot side is done. We are making more progress on the turbo Silverado. We have the hot side 100% installed. We're trying to figure out a turbo drain because the few fittings that I got didn't quite fit with the clearance that we have in between the T6 flange and the center section. So we're trying to come up with a solution there. Let's see what else. Oh, Chris is getting the boost controller wired in. We're gonna do some wire relocation, like we're not running a mass airflow meter anymore, so we'll get rid of these wires and we'll run the 2 wires for the IAT back through the harness and make it look all neat and nice. We're also gonna redo his injector connectors because he has just those plug-in adapters, which we don't like. We're just gonna hardwire it into the harness. One of the next things that I'm gonna do on the turbo truck here is with the radiator. He did get this aluminum radiator that's a little bit narrower than stock. That's going to help fit the intercooler because the intercooler pipes are now going to come in here. But unfortunately, this one, the pipes aren't quite the right size. So this one is too big. This one is actually the correct size for the bottom. So I'll cut this guy off and I'll move it down here. And then I have a new smaller tube that we're going to add kind of in its place. Obviously won't be quite that long, but that way we don't have to do any sort of stretching hoses or anything weird like that. And then I got a couple more bungs that I'm gonna weld in, one for the steam port return and one for the return from the coolant reservoir. By the way, all this stuff we did pick up from Summit Racing. They have pretty much anything you need when it comes to fabrication projects or fittings or hoses or any of that stuff. So links below for a lot of the parts that we use. And as always, we love Summit. Anyhow, that's what we're gonna do for the radiator. Then we'll get the fan back on it, and then we can get the radiator permanently installed, get the hoses made up. We do have a fresh set of intercooler brackets on the way, and a transcooler bracket. We'll show you that when it gets here, but that's pretty much our Tuesday recap. So let's continue on.
The glove.
Yeah, buddy. So we got the first round of welding done on the turbo truck project. So we got the new lower hose installed, or hose barb, I guess, installed, new upper one. And so the deal with these two here, this is for the steam vent return, and this is for the coolant reservoir return. And the reason why these are important, on the LS's, I'm gonna interrupt Chris here, they've got the steam vent return, which is that guy down there. The factory returns it through a hose into the top of the radiator. Now, a lot of people will just drill and tap into the water pump, which is fine. I just don't like doing that. So we added the steam vent. And then finally, the overflow tank, this is an aftermarket one, but the factory one does the same thing, has a line that connects here to the top of the radiator. And I believe its function, because we did just double check on Chris's Tahoe, it's mounted at the very top of the radiator. So I believe that's like an air pocket vent, for lack of a better term. So definitely good options. And then we just welded in the IAT bung for the upper charge pipe. So yeah, a little bit of welding required, not a big deal. We still have yet to do both valve covers and the oil pan. We got to add a -10 bung into each. The valve covers for the breather tank that Dom had installed, or provided rather, Chris installed it. And then a -10 return for the turbocharger to get the oil back in the engine where it belongs. We've got all the wiring done. We got the injectors wired directly into the harness rather than using those plug-in adapters, which I don't like. We've got a -10 bung welded into each valve cover. The driver's side is already ran with the, you can see that guy down there, the -10. And the passenger side, I need to get some more fittings and hose on the way, but it's just gonna go from that blue spot to that blue spot, to the True Focus Fab tank right there. We got all the coolant lines kind of where they belong. Upper radiator hose fits nice now that it has the right size fitting, as does the lower. The steam port has a home, and the coolant return from the air vent or whatever that uppermost little guy right there is. Everything has a home where it belongs. Now, today we've been spending some time up front here on the A-frame. We are modifying it so we have room to mount the transcooler because we got a couple different types of brackets, but I didn't really love the place that the cooler mounted. I know there's a couple different options out there, but we're just gonna mount it behind the intercooler. So it'll go intercooler, transcooler, AC condenser, and then radiator finally. But in order to make that happen, this transcooler has to sit not on the face of the A-frame, or what used to be an A-frame, but it has to sit flush with it. So we just got some square aluminum. Those are made from aluminum anyway, so we welded it all together. We're gonna put some paint on that in the morning, and then we should be good to go. Just probably gotta change the hose ends on the transcooler. But progress is progress, so let's carry on.
Thank you.
proper fit up. Right there. That's how it's supposed to fit, guys. Alright, so we're gonna trim that in just a hair, put a bead roll on that, then we'll put them both back in the truck, make a line, weld it together. And yes, that is a wood blade, but yes, it makes a really nice cut. Need me to start something or hold something for you?
Right up against that drain, so it doesn't want to.
So all told, we have to shorten this end, lengthen the middle, and shorten the other end, and put a little more twist in it. Sounds about right, doesn't it, Chris?
Pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, and we had to shorten that side. We had to modify the wastegate. We had to modify the downpipe. What else do we have to do? Everything.
A bunch of hoses.
A bunch of hoses. Well, I'd expect that. This stuff, we kind of hoped it would have fit out of the box. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a charge pipe that actually fits. Oh, this is also really hot, so I shouldn't put it in right now. But just look at it. Alright, so this is the oil pan off of Dom's Silverado. We have it off because we need to add in a not NPT, my brain's coming up short. And we need to add an AN drain port to it. So I'm going to drill, we'll weld it in, but you can't weld on dirty aluminum, so just going to wash it up. This is a fairly fresh build. There's a little bit of sludge in there, maybe just from the ring seat, and hopefully not anything too worrisome, but either way, we've got to clean it. And there's always more than one way to skin a cat. I don't know why you'd want to skin a cat, but that's what they say. But when it comes to getting oil back in the engine after a turbo install, I only ever do welded AN fittings. You can drill these and tap them. Some people even do it while leaving the oil pan on the engine, but you drill through that, you get shavings in there, and you just gotta deal with it. So I prefer to pull the pan off, drill a hole, and weld it in, and that's where the guy needs to go. So let's make a hole. And for what it's worth, the oil level on these pans is right about here. So as long as we return the oil above that level, we are good. Yes, I know I need to have safety glasses on. Bad habit. I always weld these on the inside if possible, but you could have a nice clean surface. And for aluminum, this carbide, it's a coarse carbide. It makes really good work of cleaning up aluminum. And because I just can't help myself, you know we're going to deburr this whole pan. So let me get my safety glasses first. that was a completely unnecessary detour, whose only purpose was to satisfy my OCD, but I'm happy now. So we can actually get on to the task at hand. Welding. So another week has drawn to a close here at the shop, and we've made pretty good progress on both turbo trucks. On Dom's Turbo Silverado over here, we've got most of the major work done. There's always that little punch list of stuff that we got to finish up, but we did get the cold side fully, well, not fully installed, but it's in place. I just have to put the clamps on. That's like the last little bit. We got to get some sort of a filter on here. The charge pipe over here, same thing. It's all done. We got the IAT sensor in. We have the blow-off valve plumbed. A little bit of welding never hurt anybody. I enjoy doing that type of work. So, yeah, that is the status update. As far as what we have left to do, it's mostly just a bunch of little stuff. Like I've got to trim the inner fender liner. That's going to fit around the wastegate and downpipe and stuff like that. Just a final nut and bolt check. We got to fill it with oil. The oil pan is back on. The oil feed line is on. The oil drain line is on. I don't know if you can see it or not, but we did have to make a custom oil drain. I'm going to tip the camera, but you can maybe just barely see that aluminum pipe. It was so tight around the T6 flange and the compressor discharge. We had to build that aluminum extension to get the oil drain down below. And I got to say, I'm really happy with how this project is turning out. I had my reservations at first. Yeah, we had to modify, well, almost everything, but we have it fitting now, and I'm really excited. The last major project, we just could build an exhaust, but we got a big pile of material over there. So next time you guys see Dom's truck, it probably is going to be firing up. We'll do a little bit of a test run, then we'll build the exhaust, and we will ship it out the door because he has a tuner who's going to handle all the tuning on that. All right, guys, it's Tuesday in the shop, and we've got another Turbo Silverado that we're getting pretty close to wrapping up on. This is Dom's truck. It's been here for a little while, and we are doing a turbo install. It came to us with a built 4.8. He's got pistons and rods in it. He changed around some goodies in the valve train. He's got a pretty good cam in there. And our responsibility was to install this turbo kit. So we've been kind of cracking away at it. We've been doing a little bit of fabrication for the odd piece that doesn't fit quite right, but we've got the hot side done. We have the cold side done. We have most of the miscellaneous plumbing done. Like we've got the boost controller in there. We've got all the coolant hoses routed around everything. Still to come up with a filter. We've been working on the grill today because we have an intercooler back there, which we're trying to make fit. But I am excited to hear how this one is going to sound because we're working on exhaust. I got the front half of the system done today, and Dom provided us with this guy here, which is a titanium resonator slash muffler. I don't know what you exactly want to call it, but it's got some packing in there. It's got some perforations on the inside. This is really cool, by the way. It weighs next to nothing, but I've always heard that titanium will give your exhaust an interesting note. So really excited to hear how that is going to sound. Front half of the system's done, and that's the truck. brought us this unassuming Silverado and asked that we give it a massive boost in the power department by installing his turbo kit. Every part of the truck's drivetrain has already been upgraded to handle anything the owner wants to throw at it, and our job was to bring the project across the finish line. Now, it has required quite a bit of welding and fabrication to get it to this point, but we're almost wrapped up, and today we're going to fire it up for the first time, build a unique exhaust, and take it for its very first test drive.
So I topped off the coolant, it's got engine oil in it, kind of did a once over of all the hoses and everything. Oil lines are tight, oil drain's tight. No coolant spilling out of it, so I think we should be okay. Find out. Like it's either where it bolts to the, yeah, it looks like it's where it bolts up to the turbo. Alright, not a big deal. Alright, so this is the turbo drain that we made. We started off with just this threaded piece from Vibrant, and we had to extend it at this angle to clear all the other stuff, but this Vibrant piece is so narrow, the gasket that is provided with it can just kind of move around and it doesn't really seal on the edges. So to fix this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of weld material here and here, and then we'll kind of flatten it out again. That way, even if the gasket does move side to side a little bit, we'll always have some contact so it doesn't leak. Let's see what we can do. Just gonna kind of build up a bunch of layers here so I know that I have plenty of material to grind down or remove. And we'll flatten her out again and we'll be in business. Alright, so we got a fair amount of weld built up on there, and that should provide enough room so no matter how the gasket sits on there, it's not going to overlap the edge like it did before. So now all I have to do is make that flat again.
Now, the first startup of any project, whether it's a fresh engine or even something as simple as a new exhaust or a turbo install, is always a pretty major milestone. And you're always going to find a few little things that you need to adjust or correct. And no different with this install that we're doing. I got the oil drain sorted out. You guys saw I just had to add a little bit of material so the gasket would actually seal around the flange. Took care of that leak. There was another leak we found just on the oil feed block that goes on the side of the oil pan. That's just a tapered pipe thread. We just got to crank that one a little bit tighter. It'll stop the leak down there. And then I went ahead, I didn't show you guys this, but it's simple stuff. I just installed all the T-bolt clamps on all the connections. So pretty much cold side is buttoned up. Hot side is done. I still have to, Dom provided one of those turbo screens, which we can run on there. We probably ought to have some sort of a filter on there for street driving and stuff, but coolant's bled. I had to tighten up one lower radiator hose clamp, but pretty much other than that, the install part of the turbo is done. He dropped off a few more parts that we got to install, different upper control arms, different brake flex hoses. We're going to put those on for him. We got to get the inner fenders installed and trimmed on the passenger side, especially because that turbo does stick down quite a bit. But yeah, major milestone. So now we can kind of start buttoning the truck up and actually make it look like a truck again. So I've got a straight piece of exhaust pipe kind of blocked up underneath the truck to give it clearance around the cross members and the floorboards. And I have it in exactly the position where it's going to be. The muffler will line up just good. We'll show you that in a second. But first I need to get a little jog over pipe made to connect from the straight piece of pipe to the V-band at the downpipe. So I just got this 45 bend. I'm just going to slice it down the middle and then we'll clock it 180 and that'll give me the little offset, which I think I'll need. So, safety first. Now I know I've shown you guys this trick a ton, but this used to be a 45. We slice it down the middle, then all we have to do is turn it like that, and we have a very slight offset. And just judging by my eyeball-o-meter, that might be exactly what we need. Now, I do love building exhaust. This is literally my favorite activity of building a car or truck, is like exhaust, aluminum intercooler pipes, any sort of welding tubes together to get exhaust fluids or fuel or air where it needs to go. It's my favorite thing, but I am a little bit nervous about this one simply because what you see here, this J-bend and this used to be 45, is the only bends that was supplied to me for this exhaust. I think we got enough, but it's just a little nerve-wracking because, well, I'll just have to order extra if we mess up, but I think we got it. So I'll just get this deburred. I'll get it kind of tacked together and get it cut to length because it's a little bit longer than the space that I have to fill, but I'll trim it evenly on each side so basically the seam is smack dab in the middle of the front and the back because
details matter.
I think by now I'd have 2 extension cords. All right, I'm gonna need to adjust that just a little bit. All right, it took me a couple tries to get where I wanted it, but I think I have the solution. We have the same cuts here on our 45. I'm just adding a 3-inch long straight section in between to increase the jog or the offset. And I think this is pretty much right where we want it. So I need like 8 hands to do this right, but a little twist here, a little twist there. That's pretty much it. Probably need to push this top one back just a hair. are starting to shake. Gotta eat some lunch. Right again? And that's high frequency there, so that's kind of like a ignition coil or something like that.
Feel like a barbecue tire to me.
Oh, Chris, that's perfect. Good. Take some way up here. Pull that little guy out real quick. Yeah, you put it back because I'm just going to tackle the other side. That's just what we want. I don't know how those pipeline welders do it when they're laying upside down all day. That's gonna suck. More welding and the front half is done. So this will be like my third or fourth take for this little thing here, and I'm just now realizing it's Tuesday. I thought it was Monday this whole time. So I guess time flies when you're having fun, but I do have fun building trucks, so I guess it kind of makes sense. Made pretty good progress today. We have the front half of the exhaust system 100% complete all the way back to where the muffler will attach, including a hanger, so we can pretty much get this stuff attached for good. And thankfully, we've made pretty good or efficient use of our materials. We started out the day with a 4-foot straight section of 4-inch tube and one 45-degree mandrel bend, and this is all we have left over. And that's just important because 4-inch stainless material is not inexpensive, so we just got to make sure we don't make many mistakes. So anyway, I'm happy. And I'm really excited to hear how this is going to sound because we are trying something that I've never actually done myself. There's lots of different materials you can build your exhaust from. Most of the system is going to be built from stainless, but Dom actually supplied a muffler slash resonator, which is made from something a little bit more exotic. This is a titanium resonator. It's made by Vibrant, as you can see. It weighs next to nothing, and it's a, as you can see, kind of straight through design with a little bit of, there's some kind of packing back there. So it'll take away a little bit of the sound, but it's probably going to have a pretty aggressive volume. But the one thing I've always heard about titanium is that it'll give your exhaust note a little bit different tone than just standard materials like stainless steel or mild steel or aluminized steel, which you typically build exhausts from. So, kind of excited to hear how it's going to sound. So that's about how much you got trim?
On the bottom half, yep.
Oh, I was thinking the front. That's even more.
Yeah. So, I mean, somewhere in that area.
Whew. You sure you got the right side of the straight edge?
Well,
that's a lot.
I believe so. That's what I was saying. The bottom half might lose a lot of that.
Oh man. Well, measure twice, cut 4 times. Well, you've chopped quite a bit out of that, haven't you?
Oh, fine bit.
Well, the little clips look like they clip in. Kind of a cool look seeing the intercooler behind it like that. I'm using this style of clamp because you cannot weld titanium to stainless. I don't happen to have any titanium V-bands, nor do I have experience welding titanium in the first place, so I didn't want to tackle, or attempt rather, welding to titanium on Dom's muffler. So the customer supplied this turn down, and it has this little slip fit connector, which I absolutely cannot stand slip fit connectors in exhaust, because even if we weld it, it has this weird bump in it. Now, obviously that excludes, you know, transitions into and out of mufflers because you kind of have to do it. But stuff like this I think is unnecessary. So we're just going to kind of cut that beyond the flare, and then we'll just butt weld it together for a little bit smoother look. Details matter.
Details matter.
So here's another little detail I like to follow anytime I get the chance. When exhaust pipe is built, it's like a flat piece that's rolled together and welded. On the inside especially, you can see the little seam right there and right there. So whenever possible, just because my brain tells me to do so, I like to line up the welded seams. I don't know why, but it makes sense.
I know details matter. Let's go.
is more or less a wrap on this turbo truck build. And I always love doing stuff like this, and I think maybe Chris enjoys it too? Yes. Chris said yes, he enjoys doing it too, because who wouldn't? I mean, like, turning wrenches is one thing, but when we get to be creative and do fun stuff like this, it's kind of one of the things that makes it all worth it. So thank you to Dom for letting us tackle the installation on this. And it took a little bit more time than we initially anticipated. A lot of times you'll find with aftermarket parts, sometimes they just don't fit. But we are equipped to make them fit, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of extra cutting and welding and making things right. And in the end, it's really worth it, because I hate cutting corners. I hate things that don't work right, but we can make them work right. So take the extra time to do it right. That's my little 5-minute sermon for the day. Anyhow, this is kind of the finished look at the engine bay. Overall, here's just the summary of what we've done. We've got the True Focus fab, breather tank / coolant reservoir. Pretty cool piece here, bolts onto the factory stuff. We've got the turbo kit. This is a 75 millimeter. I incorrectly sized it last time. I thought it was an 80 for some weird reason, or an 85. S475 T6 turbo. We have the 3-inch intercooler up front. As far as engine goes, again, Dom, sorry if I missed some of these specs, but I believe he said it had a Summit Pro LS piston and rod in it. I believe it's a stock crank. It has a turbo-specific cam. I know he has different lifters, different valve springs. Basically, it's got ARP head studs. This motor is built for boost, and now we have installed the boost. So I'm really excited to see how this thing does when Dom gets it to the dyno. He's going to handle all the tuning and all that sort of stuff, but maybe once he gets it done, we'll invite him back down and we'll see how the truck goes, or so you guys can see how it goes. I know I'm kind of excited. A couple other things that Chris wrapped up for us this morning. He got the grill clearance. We had to do quite a bit of cutting to get the intercooler to fit, because it's not very thick, but it definitely is wide, and as the grill kind of curves in, you got to do a fair amount of trimming. On the suspension, we did a little bit of customization because you got to have it fit right. We did install the aftermarket upper control arms, which we told you about. That was to correct the ball joint angle, but these brake lines we had to do some customizing on, because originally it had a braided steel brake line, which I know the braided steel brake lines improve your braking, but they would get pinched between the back of the caliper bolt and the control arm when you turn. So that was no good. Don brought us by some original GM brake lines, because they have these little hold downs, but those were for a 1500 Silverado, and they didn't do really any better. They ran kind of down here, and again, they still would pinch. So we found brake lines from a 2500 HD. They have this little longer section here, which keeps the brake hose up over the top rather than in the back, so it's not going to pinch as it turns. And then we added these little hold down tabs on the DJM control arms, one for the ABS line and one for the brake line up front, just like the factory. So there's a lot of moving stuff up here. There's a lot of little things that could pinch your brake line. And honestly, the big reason why we have to do this is because we got drop spindles on the front of the truck that moves the caliper way in a different spot than the factor does. But with a little bit of creativity, Chris has the idea for the HD brake lines, and I think it worked out awesome. So now what we've got to do, we got to put the wheel on. We are going to do an alignment check because we changed the upper control arms. Dom asked that we check out the rear pinion seal. It looks like it's leaking. But as far as you guys are concerned, as far as the turbo install, this project's pretty much done. So thank you guys for watching. Come back soon.